$1 Million Career, where we show you how to plan, build, and supercharge your own $1 Million career. I have with me today my returning guest host, Craig Picken. Craig is president of North Star Search Group based in Wilmington, North Carolina, an industry-leading executive search firm specializing in aviation and aerospace. Welcome back, Craig.
Rob, how are you?
How was your 4th of July weekend?
It was good. It was quiet. It was 3 days, well, 3.5 days, because I kind of took half Friday off. It was good. It was good. Just good. I live at the beach, but the locals can't go near the beach.
I know,
on
man.
4th of July, it gets so crowded. So
exactly.
we gotta do other things.
So hey, I'm going to talk about throwing the red flag. So for all our viewers out there who watch NFL, everyone knows the feeling of when your team scores a touchdown or something or a big play and you see the red flag being thrown by the opposing coach. There's 7 NFL officials out there calling a game, and it's just something that the NFL instituted several years ago to install accountability on the part of the refs. And if there's an egregious call, then the coaches have, I think, 2 red flags to use during the football game. And I got to tell you, when it first came out, I was not a big fan of it, but boy, it's really provided a lot of drama to some of these big games, even Super Bowls. So I'm gonna talk to you about the red flag. I know you're a big Pat Mahomes fan, big football fan, and I want to try and apply it towards, how does that relate to corporate America, to organizations? How can they use the proverbial red flag? So I'll put it back on you, Craig. So first of all, what do you think about the red flag in the NFL anyways?
Well, I think what it does is look, it's, football is a game of inches, right? And, that there's a lot of action happening. It's happening fast. Officials are human. They you either miss it, you don't see it, or, you just, it's too close to call. Yeah. And, all of a sudden now you put an instant replay in and you say, let's, it's kind of like the appeals judge, it's like the appeals judge. You could, convicted of something or some lawsuit goes against you and, hey, look, this isn't right. I want to appeal it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happens. Sometimes the coaches win, sometimes they lose. So, but I think what it does is it adds an element of fairness to the game and takes some of the pressure off the officials, because, hey, look, if they get overruled by instant replay, like, hey, look, okay, that's cool. We'll accept we were wrong. We'll accept the reality. Yeah.
I think the head referee who throws the proverbial red flag on me in most cases is my wife. Oh, she's the one that says, all right, I'm calling BS on that. And it's like, I can almost see her pulling the red flag out of her pocket and throwing it on the front lawn. And I think we all need that, it's like, it's like, we're all heroes in our own self-published stories, but the reality is sometimes a little bit different.
Well, the way I look at my wife, and she's, the way I look at her is she's got a vested interest in my business as well.
Yeah.
Right. It's, in a lot of ways, hey, look, we're partners in life, and she's got a vested interest. If I come home and say, hey, I want to go spend $50,000 on some thing, be whatever, first thing she says to me is, what are you going to get out of it? Obviously you're going to go spend $50,000 or $10,000 or whatever on your business. Her first question is, what are you going to get back on it? Yeah. Are you going to get your money back? And is it, are you going to get double your money back? Is it going to be double the value or triple the value or whatever the internal rate of return should be? And then she makes me explain why I want to do it. And a lot of times I like that. A lot of times it pisses me off because you feel like, hey, I'm being questioned. But then you back up and you're like, okay, maybe it wasn't such a great idea after all, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It kind of forces us to resist, temptations, urges. And I'm thinking about, organizationally, I'm thinking, what about outside input? I've always thought outside input is kind of a way of throwing our own red flag against our own organizations or ourselves, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, look, so you work with a lot of insurance producers, and, I've been essentially a salesperson all my life. And over the years, I'm getting a lot of gray hair now. I'll tell you who I really appreciate is finance people, because finance people
Yeah.
cry BS on the salespeople. The salespeople are motivated and sometimes incentivized to bring in deals, insurance or whatever, but the companies that I was in, the salespeople were incentivized to bring in the deals.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Now, what they weren't necessarily incentivized to do, they want to get the deal
Yeah.
for a lot of reasons. They want the revenue, they want the commission, they want the sale, they want the company to get to book it. It's not all selfish.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
want the customer to be happy. But then the finance person comes in, they look at the deal and they go, this isn't a profitable deal. There's no sense in us doing this deal because either we're going to give it away, we're going to lose money on it. And I look at the finance people now, and like where I started my career was in, big jets. It was selling $50 million airplanes. The finance person comes in and looks at that deal
Yeah.
and goes, hey, look, no, it's not profitable. We're not going to make any money on it. Let's just not do it. And you're pissed. But the reality of the matter is it's better for the company to not do the deal.
Yeah. Did you ever have a situation or a deal where you're selling one of those big jets and you're thinking, man, I'm going to close this deal, or maybe it's a package deal and you find yourself to be a little bit over exuberant, only to find out once you talk with the numbers guy, like, hey, Craig, what in the F are you thinking about, man?
Yeah, sure. That happened. But I'll tell you a flip story. Is, VP of sales, huge deal, like huge multi-billion-dollar deal. And because he was the VP of sales,
Yeah.
he was in charge of the big deal, big fleet customer. And he was structuring a really crappy deal. It was really bad. And the finance person who was in, the devil's advocate of the deal,
Yeah. Yeah.
looking over his shoulder, saying, no, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. And here's why. And he would get mad and he was just getting irate. And the finance person said, the way you want to structure the deal is bad.
Yeah.
If you shut up, put your ego aside and listen to me, I will help you get this done.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
We'll just look at it a different way so that the numbers work. And that's what businesses need is, sometimes that frenemy, no, you can't, I know you can't do it, but if you allow me to help you, we'll get it done together and you'll be very happy.
Yeah, because I totally get that, because I think what you said before ties in with that in terms of accountability. Accountability is one of the reasons why the NFL instituted that rule of coaches being able to throw the flag, because it tends to keep the referees more accountable, because if they miss a call, there's a greater chance now that that's going to be shown on television, the replay, the red flag, the whole thing. So it probably even subconsciously, but probably consciously makes them more accountable. And yeah, I think it's the same thing you're saying too. So, this VP of sales, if he would just listen to his finance guy, he's not only going to get a better deal, but it makes him accountable too.
Yeah.
It makes everybody accountable because the numbers don't lie,
Well, nobody wants to win a game on a really good or really bad call. So on the flip side, nobody wants to lose a game.
Right.
Or really good.
Exactly.
So structure. So take a large company, for instance, and take a large deal where it stretches out over time. And it's a very involved process. It's not a tactical. It's a couple of years I've seen this happen all the time. People are like, we committed to this big contract. Well, look at Boeing right now. So I'm an aviation guy, and everybody's hearing about Air Force One. The new Air Force One that is in the build process. Trump did the deal. Boeing committed to it. And now Boeing's going, man, we're going to lose $1 billion on this program.
Wow, really?
And they're going back and they're going, why did we commit to this thing? Well, because you did. And now they have to eat it. And now they have to go back and say, we're losing $1 billion. On a couple of jets we're selling to the Air Force to carry the president of the United States around. Those are very involved. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to
Yeah.
do it. And sometimes it just takes reasonable people to go, this is really stupid.
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking about, I'd like to get your thoughts on this as well. Attorneys, I don't know if you have any good attorney friends or lawyer friends who actually try cases, but one of my best friends is a trial lawyer. It's amazing that when he prepares for trial, he'll actually pretend he's the opposition, and he'll role play, he'll scheme it out. But yeah, he pretends he's the opposition, and that's how he keeps himself accountable. It's like himself throwing a red flag on his whole approach.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly, you look at the other guy's shoes. How, you're an executive recruiter. How many times have you gone to your client who's just put, or is either thinking about some stupid offer or put a stupid offer in front of somebody? They're all excited about their company. They're all excited about getting this person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most times people are very short-sighted. They want the best person for the least amount of money. It's like everything, and they treat it like a commodity. And you come back to them and say, Joe, why would this person accept this offer? Well, because you're like, no, wait a minute.
Exactly.
Why would this person accept, if you were you, would you accept this offer? Nah, probably not. Then why are you doing it?
I had the same situation happen yesterday, actually. It's funny you mentioned that, because I had a client who is getting ready to place a very senior sales guy in a new state. So it's a brand new territory. And his background and trade is mostly sales, but he's also built organizations, built practices, and built classic build, grow, execute, scale, all that stuff. So they're going to hire this guy, and we're talking about the contract and the offer letter. And it's a typical sales deal, 40% on new business, 20% on renew. And I said, well, we've got to build in some sweeteners for this guy. Like maybe he's going to have to vest in his book of business over 10, 15 years, some long-term incentives, maybe a very, very small piece of that LLC that's going to be formed in this, halfway across the country, because he's not just a sales guy, he's building you a business. And the guy just, he had a very difficult time in grasping, well, he's a sales guy. I'm carrying, his load for the first 2 years, and I'm just going to pay him commissions. And anyways, we had this long winding discussion. At the very end of it, we had a meeting of the minds, in that I think he appreciated the fact that it's not just a sales guy. He was going to build him a business so that he has to provide a more ownership centric package as opposed to just another sales guy. So that was a good example of having an open mind and critically challenging things, because I was basically his red team.
I tell people, I go, look, at the end of the day, if you really want your competitor's best salesperson, finance person, general manager, whatever, nobody walks across the street for $5,000 and a kiss. You're talking to people, you're saying, change your life. Switching jobs is it's stressful.
Yeah.
It's new location, new people, there's a lot of stress. Nobody's going to do it for just,
Right.
Are you just switching geography, or are you really moving to something better? Or are you just switching geography?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's my red flag to people. I go, why are you doing this? Are you just, big company to big company,
I always ask them, like, why are you exchanging a known for an unknown?
Yeah.
There better be a damn good reason.
Yeah.
Why you're doing that. And it can't be just money.
Yeah. In my world, I was talking to a guy not too long ago, and he worked for Eaton Corporation, big publicly traded, and he's like, well, I want to know if there's anything good like in Honeywell or GM. I'm like, dude, it's big company stuff.
Right.
All you're doing is switching geography. I'm like, why don't you look at small companies where you can really make an impact? Smaller companies where you can really smaller companies they're more, they're more unstable. He doesn't like the environment. I'm like, all right, let's just look back at the history of the last 20 years. Who's laid off people? Big companies. Who's taken those people that got laid off? There are a lot of decent talent. Small companies.
Yeah.
Small companies grow. Big companies are kind of flat.
Yeah.
They're not doing anything.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah. So, you've got a military background. So I was going to ask you as well, Craig. So, in the military, the big thing is red teaming. You put together a concept of operations in the Army called the CONOP. And the big thing is you bring your red team in. It's other colleagues, and they challenge the hell out of the mission plan. Did you guys do something similar to that when you were in the Navy, in aviation? Or?
Yeah, we did all the time, to be honest with you. And, a lot of times too, it was like, you get a bunch of big egos in the room, the more senior guys, or the more crusty, I was a Navy lieutenant. So, it was always the most junior guy. Sometimes it was the most junior guy in my crew. It goes, I'm not sure I do that. And you're looking at them like, why?
Yeah.
Well, because, this is, ooh, I didn't see that. He did. He's learning. He's learning, but he's, while he's learning from the crusty people, or she's learning from the crusty people, they come up and go, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. But,
so as a naval officer, which is what you were, a lieutenant, does the Navy, let me put it this way, in the Army, the senior NCOs really run the Army. Okay. The E6, E7s and stuff. I'm wondering if in the Navy, the senior NCOs have as much influence as they do in the Army. I'm just curious. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the chief petty officers.
Chief petty officers.
The chief petty officers of the Navy, and they, it's pretty notorious. They kind of run stuff. Like they're almost like the mafia. They run things.
Right.
Yeah, I had many a times where I had some, chief petty officer come on and go, hey, sir, you're in charge, but I'm not sure I do that. You look at them going, all right, why? What's up? And they go, well, all right. The cooler has, all right, chief, I get it. Okay. No problem. Sometimes you overrule them. Sometimes you're the boss. And it's just like, you're the senior person. You're the one who's responsible because you're the senior person.
Yeah.
You can't sit there and go, hey, when all the hell breaks loose, you go, I can't go. The chief petty officer told me it was a bad idea, because ultimately you're the senior guy and you're in charge. So, you could listen, but you have to make your own decisions. And I think that's, but I think ultimately, the nice thing about, this is where I talk about companies and teamwork. Put your ego aside. The old expression, ego is not your amigo.
Exactly. Yeah.
You got to put your ego aside and say, maybe I'll just listen for a minute, or I'll shut up.
That's just good stuff. No, it's amazing how much the military does, because it truly is a metal on metal business. There's no room for mistake or error. People get killed if things don't go exactly right. It's really interesting how many of these military principles, like red teaming, has seeped into the corporate world, and how it works. You get these civilian guys who are CEOs and stuff, and are like, I don't know, Rob, that's special ops, that's military. Extreme ownership is a good example. Jocko Willis wrote a book about that, and it's always amazing to me how we can take these military principles and transfer them over to the civilian side, and the shit works, man.
Well, that's the thing about being. Look, I got nobody. I tell my clients, I go, look, it's me. It's me. I'm a small entrepreneur. But if I don't deliver, I got nobody to blame. It's me.
Exactly.
And I go, all right, if that's it. So that brings a different level of responsibility. You can't hide. You got people in big organizations, big companies. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
They don't earn their pay. They don't come in. They don't do a day's work for a day's pay.
Yeah.
They want to blame everybody. And then they're like, when layoffs come, they don't understand why they got laid off. Like, well, you deserved it. But then you've got people in the organization, and this is, well, you take your, what happens to the best person in the organization? People dump more stuff on them.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. I was, somebody was talking about, I got more responsibility, but I didn't get more pay. didn't get more benefits, didn't get more. They just take the stuff. They find the best person. Oftentimes it's a lady, and they just keep throwing it on them. Here,
Yeah.
can you do this? Take this, take
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
And then one day they wake up and that person's gone. Why is that person gone? Because you didn't appreciate the fact that they took on a bunch
Yeah,
of
of
stuff
course.
and you didn't do anything to
Yeah.
help them out.
Yeah. No, this is all good stuff. Yeah. So yeah, throwing the red flag. I'm going to have a new appreciation next time I watch an NFL game about somebody throwing the red flag, because it really does all these things. It provides outside input from the coaches, from the NFL office, who watches the replays, accountability. I like the
Mhm.
lawyer approach.
Mhm.
You've got the empowerment of your teams, and my favorite's always going to be red teaming. Red teaming is a killer app, man. If you have red teaming in your organization, I mean, or even in your personal life, a good wife, if you will, man, you're going to avoid a lot of bad decisions. And I think you said this a few months ago, Craig. I think it was Charlie Munger or Warren Buffett said, I think it was Charlie Munger said, life is pretty simple, actually. If you can just avoid making stupid mistakes, if you can just avoid doing stupid stuff, you're going to have a very successful life.
So we'll finish this. We'll finish this. And this is where people can red team themselves.
Yeah.
Social media, email,
Yes.
text, angry, angry, accusatory, derogatory,
Yes.
reply all. That's where you sit there and go, what am I really accomplishing if I send this out?
Yeah, you're right, man.
And that's where people need to red team themselves. More
Great,
careers have
man.
been destroyed.
Great. So Craig, how do people get a hold of you anyways?
It's Craig at northstaresg.com. I'm on LinkedIn. Just find me, Craig Picken, and you can call me 910-509-7129 in the office.
You're doing some great stuff in the aviation and the aerospace field. I read your postings on LinkedIn all the time, and keep up the good work. It's a lot of people dependent on you. Keep on informing, inspiring, and entertaining, brother.
Okay? You do the same, Rob. Thanks for having me on.
Talk See you, man. All right.